Of course, we occasionally move away from the world of football. We're going to do that as of this moment. Are we about to welcome back Christian Horner to F1 via Ferrari? It's understood Christian Horner's in talks with Ferrari about taking over as their team principal. We know that last month Horner formally left Red Bull after agreeing a severance deal following his sacking in July. It's reported he left the sport with a payoff in the neighbourhood of £52 million, which in anyone's terms is a very nice neighbourhood. Let's find out more. Editor-in-Chief of Autosport is Rebecca Clancy. Rebecca, good morning to you. Horner coming back into Ferrari. Is this happening?
Good morning, Jim. No, I'm not buying it, I'm afraid. It's a nice story, isn't it? But I think we know that Horner or someone from Horner's team is ringing up all of the different F1 teams at the moment. Andy Cowell, who's the team principal over at Aston Martin, he actually came out and said, yes, there's been a phone call. He's very close with Lawrence Stroll, who owns that team, so they've been chatting. Ao Komatsu, the team principal at Haas, also came out and said, yep, we've been contacted by Horner and his team as well. So it's one of those stories where you can't say it's not true, but I would be surprised if we saw Horner go to Ferrari. Also, if nothing else, because I could not imagine Christian Horner being the boss of Lewis Hamilton, who currently drives for Ferrari.
It seems to me, Rebecca, and Simon will come into this in a second, that he clearly doesn't want to be away from the sport too long.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think one of the things that has been accurately reported is that he did a bit of a deal. It's, as you say, 52 million. It's a very nice sum of money. For most people, they would happily retire.
Yeah.
But it's fair to say that Horner didn't like how things ended with Red Bull. It was very unceremonious. It was just after the British Grand Prix, the Tuesday after the British Grand Prix. It was a shock to him. To be honest, it was a bit of a shock to everyone, the timing of it. Obviously, there had been these allegations the previous year, about 18 months earlier. Nothing seemed to have come from that. He seemed to have survived those. And then, yeah, he was let go in July. So he's done a deal with Red Bull, which effectively lets him come back into the paddock next spring, early next spring. And he wants to. He really wants back in F1. He loves it. So as well as these reports about him going back into Ferrari, we also know that there have been reports about him setting up his own team. So we have Cadillac coming in next year. That will be the 11th team. And under the regulations, there is scope for a 12th team. It is not cheap. His 52 million is but peanuts. It's not enough, amazingly. So he'd need to find some investors, some backers. Not completely unlikely. It is possible. We've seen, as I said, Cadillac got the green light, although they had to jump through quite a few hoops to get there. So I think we will definitely see Horner back in F1 in some capacity. I'm not convinced it will be Ferrari.
And Rebecca, if he does come back, would he be welcome back?
Do you know what? I think he actually would. It's funny when you listen to Toto Wolff, the team principal over at Mercedes. Those two had a proper rivalry. There were a war of words. It all stems from that season in 2021 where they were, up against each other. It was Max Verstappen's Red Bull up against Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes. It obviously ended in a cloud of controversy in Abu Dhabi. But throughout that season, they were absolutely going for each other through the media. They didn't hold back, and that rivalry has continued ever since. And actually, when you speak to Toto Wolff since July, he says, the sport does miss a bit the grenade throwing that they were doing, as we would call it. That kind of just a bit more exciting. Now we're seeing team principals, they're more engineering side rather than the likes of Horner and Wolff, who are marketeers. They do very good at doing the PR for their team. Don't necessarily get involved with the day-to-day of the engineering side of it. So yeah, I think the sport actually has missed Horner to a degree, in the sense of just, he was front page news. He wasn't just back page news. And I think he might not necessarily be welcomed back by everybody with open arms, but I think there'd be a few faces who'd be happy to see him.
Simon, certainly when he joined us in studio last December, we put it to Christian Horner, and have a listen to this, Rebecca. I put it to him, where was his passion for the sport?
I still get a buzz that I had when I started this role, over 20 years ago. So that moment when the lights go out and it's just you and your team and your drivers, for me, that is the biggest, the buzz that you can that you can get out of the sport. And what you've still got, it's down to the passion at the end of the day. If you love what you do, you do it that bit better.
52 million more in the bank for him. That's nice, but he still can't live without it, it would appear, Simon.
Well, yeah, I guess so. That's the nature of the beast. I was going to ask Rebecca the principal thought processes behind how he's viewed in F1 by all the protagonists, not just necessarily the media, but the actual teams themselves. And you made an observation that maybe I should know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You alluded to the fact that you can't see him at Ferrari because you can't see him working with Lewis Hamilton. Why is that?
So that stems back to the 21 season that I was just talking about, where things got pretty nasty between Mercedes, where Lewis was at the time, and Red Bull, where Christian Horner was the team principal. And there was a lot of bad blood. I'm not sure Mercedes or anyone at Mercedes has really gotten over the result from Abu Dhabi in 2021, including Lewis himself. Understandably, it was human error from the race director, which meant he didn't win his 8th World Championship. Ferrari are not performing well now, which is where a lot of this speculation has come from, that perhaps Christian Horner could come in. He was very successful in his 20 years. He won 6 Constructors' Championships. He won 8 Drivers' Championships. But I think there's just too much bad blood between Hamilton and not necessarily Horner as in personally, but I think between Red Bull and Mercedes, I just don't think that relationship would work at all.
If you were putting your smart money on where you think he might land, where do you think it might land? Because it feels, the suggestion you made with the Cadillac, it feels like the Beckham effect over the next expansion team in American football. Beckham didn't put any money in, but he utilised the fact that he had an expansion opportunity. Cadillac aligning themselves with a well-known, reputed team principal feels like a fit, doesn't it?
He absolutely won't be going to Cadillac.
He won't be.
That is not happening. They've come out very clearly and said he won't be going to Cadillac. I think the most likely place we could see him, perhaps Aston Martin, as I mentioned. Andy Cowell said that he had spoken to Lawrence Stroll, the owner there at Aston Martin, and they're close friends. So that's
have they got any money, Aston Martin?
Lawrence Stroll is a very, very, very rich billionaire. So yes, with very deep pockets. They've just spent a huge amount of money on their factory in Silverstone. They've also just acquired Adrian Newey, the greatest car designer in F1 history, who worked with Christian Horner at Red Bull. So that would be those two reuniting. And the other option, which I would probably put top at the moment, is Alpine. So currently that's Flavio Briatore, who himself has been wrapped up in scandal in the sport, but is very close to Horner. They are in a bit of a tricky period at the moment, back of the grid. They have a team manager, not necessarily a team principal, in Steve Nielsen. I think Horner could fit in well to Alpine. And also Alpine, despite being a French team, their factory is based in England, not that far from Horner's house. So it wouldn't even be that much of a change for him.
Rebecca, thank you so much. Rebecca Clancy, editor-in-chief of Autosport. So clearly the message is, not only is he set to come back, he might well have a bunch of choices, Christian Horner, in the process. That's even after he put 52 million in the bank for saying goodbye to Red Bull. I'd love the opportunity to do that. It's 11 o'clock.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.